Day 3 will dawn with us in Amsterdam, looking at museums. This day, after we leave our hotel, we will go to the Anne Frank House, a Bible museum, the Amsterdam Historical Museum, the Floating Flower Market, the Willard Holothans House Museum, the Jewish Museum, and then we will go and eat at the American Cafe. It'll be raining most of the day, so we'll just have to take our umbrellas and go. Our first stop will be to visit the house of a young lady that we have been very interested in seeing. No, not the one on the right, the one on the left, Anne Frank. Anne Frank grew up just before World War II and during World War II as a Jewish girl. Her family fled several times from the Germans before settling in Amsterdam, where her father had a factory. They hid out for a while and then were captured and sent to the concentration camps, where they all eventually died except for Otto, the father. We'd have probably forgotten her story, except that Anne liked to write and she kept a very meticulous diary of her feelings and concerns. This diary has been published now in many different languages, and we're going to be visiting the factory where her father had that they hid in the back of. It's always a very busy place with long lines waiting to get in as one of the popular tourist attractions in Amsterdam. You can still hear the bells ring from the Westerkerk where she wrote in her diary about. And looking from that tower, you can see where her house would have been that she spent so much time in the back of her father's factory. The factory made jams and jellies and kept on operating while they were in hiding. But it's what's in the back of this building that is most important. The bottom two floors of the two buildings were used as warehouse and workplace. The upper floors were shops and also office buildings. But it's what is in back in the top two floors that is important. It's the hiding place that they had. There was a doorway in, hidden behind a bookcase in a hall, and when the bookcase was swung open, behind you would find the stairs. Otto Frank and Edith Frank hid there, along with their daughters Margot and Anne, Fritz Pfeiffer and Peter Van Pels and his parents, Herman and Augusta. But they also had helpers who were office workers who got food for them and other supplies they needed while they were in hiding so that they could stay there and remain hidden. All of the pictures that I will be showing you are taken from a movie that was made about it, as all the decorations have been removed. There was a stairway behind the bookcase that led to the largest room upstairs. It looked like this when it was found, but it was converted into a kitchen area where the Van Pels lived and slept, and also where the people had their gatherings, studied, ate their meals. Then off to the side on that floor was Peter's room. The stairway led up into the attic. In the attic they dried clothes, they stored things, and they could look out a window and see the things around them. Downstairs was a bathroom. They couldn't use it during the day as the water gurgled and the workers in the factory would hear them. In the back would have been the Frank's room with Margot and her parents there, and in the front was where Anne lived along with Mr. Pfeiffer. She liked to put up pictures on her wall. All the furniture was removed from the building after they were captured, but the pictures have remained and can be seen even today. And this is probably one of the most important places to help you remember what happened during World War II. Our next stop will be a Bible museum. It's set in one of the old homes again, which is very beautiful on the inside of paintings and stairwells, and you can see the kitchen and other things like that. This is Deborah in the kitchen. She's never been in one before, so she doesn't recognize all the stuff. That's a sink, Deborah, you wash dishes in, and an oven you can cook in. But Deborah doesn't wash and cook. But the reason we've come here is to see the Bible models, for there are hundreds of models of all different aspects. The tabernacle, statues of Pharaoh and gods, a brick from Egypt, Solomon's Temple. City of Jerusalem in Jesus' day, the Temple in Jesus' day, Church of the Holy Sepulchre, and the Dome of the Rock. Next we'll be going to the Amsterdam Historical Museum.
This was all an orphanage, and before that a convent in the Amsterdam Historic Museum. They shipped Delft china everywhere, and if you'll notice, this is the way they would have been packaged.
In around 1250, a dam was built to join the banks of the river.
And that dam is where Dam Square is today, and where the Palais is built. Amsterdam has always been a shipping town, and you can see here a view of what it might have looked like in early times. And there are huge numbers of portraits in the museum of all different descriptions and groups and kinds. Pottery has always been a big part of the Dutch. And so since shipping has been so important, we have many boat models, and there's large galleries of the Civil Guard and of the orphanage. This is a picture of the first trip to the East Indies. And excavations in the canals find all sorts of pottery. And thousands of clay pipes, for the Dutch really like their smoking, and all sorts of other ornamental things. This is the floodgates in Amsterdam. They are closed in order to keep the canals from flooding, and you can see how they would have been closed. Queen Beatrix is the current queen of the Netherlands, and there was an exhibit of her things while we were there also. And we went to the flower market, but first we ate a little salted herring. It's salty. What do you think? I don't think Deborah liked it too much. Now for Deborah, off to the floating flower market that's on the Amstel River, floating on barges. Flower market. And of course, the Dutch like their cannabis, and you can buy seeds here too at the flower market. Our next site will be the Museum Willett Hothuysen. It was built in 1855 and was passed down through the family for many years until finally given to the city in 1895, and has been a museum ever since. Up the half, that one right there. The china room. Here's the kitchen. Have you ever seen one of these, Deborah? A kitchen in these? Here's Deborah in her mansion. here's the bedroom. With the Kennedy bed. This is the back garden view. A very formal garden, as you can see. During World War II, the synagogue was destroyed but has now been rebuilt. We also had fried food for appetizer. I had a hamburger with an egg on it. And of course there were French fries with fry sauce, mayonnaise. Deborah had a taco. We headed back to the hotel, and later that night, about 1 o'clock, I woke up and
here it is at 1 o'clock in the morning, and people are still out riding on their bicycles.
This seems to be a town that never closes down. As we look at the central train station, we zoom out and see Damrick Street is still very busy. Here we can see the Palais. In a city that never seems to get totally dark during the summer, you can see as the sky starts to lighten the glow of the street lights here.